In this video, I'm going to go through the solutions of the second test for algebra. So we have x squared minus 5x minus 6 equals 0. We need to factorize and solve for x, finding two values for x because we have x squared. So the factors of x squared first, we have x and x. The factors of minus 6 that are going to add or subtract to give us minus 5. So we have minus 6 and plus 1. And we check by multiplying the inside 2 and the outside 2. We get minus 5x, so we know that we're right. And to solve, we put each of the factors equal to 0. So we get x is equal to 6 and x is equal to minus 1. Second question, we have 3x squared minus 13x minus 10 equals 0. So we need to do the same thing, it's just a little bit more difficult. So the factors of 3x squared, we have 3x and x. We need to think of the factors of minus 10. And again, so that when we multiply the inside 2 and the outside 2, we end up with minus 13x. We get minus 13x, so again, that's how we know that we're correct. Then we put each of the factors equal to 0. So 3x plus 2 equals 0, and x minus 5 equals 0, and we solve for x. Question 3. We have 3x squared minus 8x plus 1 equals 0. So again, I start off in the same manner. I see if I can factorize. I put in 3x and x. My factors of 1 are either going to be plus 1 or minus 1. They will never add or subtract to give me minus 8x. So therefore, I need to use my minus b formula. So we identify that a is equal to 3, b is equal to minus 8, and c is equal to 1. And using our formula, minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, everything over 2a, and we substitute in. So minus minus 8, we get plus 8, plus or minus, we're going to get 64 minus 12, everything over 6, so we have 8 plus or minus the square root of 52 over 6. So we have to sometimes check the question and see if they want the answer to a decimal place or to third form. So in this question, either answer would have been acceptable. So I'm going to take the two values now. 8 plus the square root of 52 over 6, and 8 minus the square root of 52 over 6. So we get x is equal to 2.5352, and x is equal to 0.1315 to 4 decimal places. So on to question 4. We have x plus 7 over 3 plus 2 over x is equal to 4. So there's a few different ways of kind of working with fractions. Usually we just go with what you're comfortable with. For this question, I'm going to go through one way. For the following question, I'll show the other way. Really, we should be comfortable with all of the different ways. So I'm going to deal with the left-hand side first and find my common denominator, which is 3x. That means I have to multiply x by x plus 7 and 3 by 2. When I simplify the top, I get x squared plus 7x plus 6. That's over 3x is equal to 4. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3x in order to get rid of the fraction on the left. And simplifying further. So moving everything to one side, I'll be left with x squared minus 5x plus 6. I have my quadratic equation, so I need to factorize and solve to find two values for x. So I'm going to use minus 3 and minus 2, because minus 3 minus 2 gives me plus 6, and when I multiply the inside 2 and the outside 2, I get minus 5x. So letting each factor be equal to 0, I get x equals 3 and x equals 2. So question 5 is similar. I'm just going to use a different method. So we have 2 over x minus 2 plus 3 over x is equal to 5 over x minus 4. So if I'm to multiply every single term by the three expressions on the bottom, so x minus 2, x and x minus 4, It's going to get rid of all of the fractions. And just to show how this would work in a simpler situation, so if I had 2 over 4, for example, plus 1 over 3 is equal to 5 over 6. In this case, I could multiply every single term by 12. So product of the 3 denominators, and it will cancel all of my fractions. So I get 3 by 2, 4 by 1, and 2 by 5. So just to go through that first of all, so we can understand what I'm doing next. So the first term multiplied by x minus 2 by x minus 4. And the same with the second term, and with the last. Now I can simplify, because x minus 2 and x minus 2 cancel because 1 over the other simplifies to give us 1. My x will cancel here, because x over x again is 1, and x minus 4 over x minus 4. So to simplify again, so just going back up to the start, as with question 4, I could have just worked with the left-hand side first and found the common denominator to get a single fraction on the left, and I would have a single fraction on one side equals a single fraction on the other, and gone from there. Or like I said, multiply everything by x minus 2, x, and x minus 4. Cancel out what we can, because x minus 2 over x minus 2 gives us 1, for example. Multiply out our brackets and solve for x. Question 6. We have 2t minus 5 over t squared minus 12 by 2t minus 5 over t plus 27 equals 0. So really the first thing we want to notice is the pattern. We have something squared plus 12 multiplied by that expression plus 27 equals 0. So we can simplify this by letting 2t minus 5 over t be equal to x. By doing that, we now have x squared minus 12x plus 27. And we can find two values for x and then go back and find our values for t. So again, factorizing, we let each factor be equal to 0, and we have x equals 9 and x is equal to 3. So now that we have those two values, we need to go back and find the values for t. So we have x is equal to 2t minus 5 over t. So first of all, when x is equal to 9, we have 9 is equal to 2t minus 5 over t. Multiply everything by t to get rid of the fraction. So we have 9t is equal to 2t squared minus 5. Everything onto one side. Again, factorizing. We let each factor be equal to 0. So we get t is equal to minus 1 over 2, and t is equal to 5. So that's when x is equal to 9. So now we have to do the same thing when x is equal to 3. Each factor equal to 0. So t is equal to 5 over 2, and t is equal to minus 1. So by substituting x in for t, we solve the first equation. Then we have to remember to go back, substituting what we found for x, so 9 and 3, in order to find all of our values for t. So our next question, we have x squared plus y squared is equal to 25, and we have x plus y is equal to 7. So we know when we have x squared plus y squared is equal to 25, this is the equation for a circle. When we have x plus y equals 7, it's the equation of a line. So we're looking for the 2 points where they intersect. So the method that we use is taking one of the equations. So we take the linear equation, make one of the variables the subject. So in this case, I'm going to make y the subject. So y is equal to 7 minus x. And now I'm substituting this in to the other equation for my y. So we have x squared plus y squared is equal to 25. So instead of y squared, we now have 7 minus x to be squared. So we just multiply out our brackets and simplify to find our values for x. And we get x is equal to 4 and x is equal to 3. So now that we have those two values for x, we have to go back and find our values for y. So we said that y was equal to 7 minus x. So now we have y is equal to 7 minus 4. So y is equal to 3. So that gives us the 0.43. And then taking our second value for x, we find y is equal to 7 minus 3. So y is equal to 4. That gives us the 0.34. Question 8, we have a cubic equation. So we know we're looking for three values for x. The first thing we need to do is find one of the roots. So we do this just by trial and error. So for example, we start off with x is equal to 1. So we have 2 by 1 cubed plus 7 by 1 squared plus 2 by 1 minus 3 equals 0. We get 2 plus 7 plus 2 minus 3 equals 0. This does not give us 0, so therefore x equals 1 is not one of the roots of the equation. So let's try x is equal to minus 1. We get minus 2 plus 7 minus 2 minus 3 equals 0. So that is true. So therefore x minus 1 is a root. So therefore x plus 1 is a factor. So therefore we're going to divide x plus 1 into the cubic equation. So you can use long division or you can use the array model. X into 2x cubed, we get 2x squared. We subtract the bottom line from the top line and we're left with 5x squared. We bring down our 2x. X into 5x squared, we get 5x. Again, we subtract the bottom line from the top line. We'll be left with minus 3x minus 3. So x into minus 3x gives us minus 3. Minus 3 by x plus 1, we get minus 3x minus 3. So divide it in evenly, so now we're left with a quadratic expression, 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. So we need to factorize and solve this in order to find the two other values for x. And we solve for x. So we know that x is equal to a half, 3, and going back to the first value that we found by trial and error, minus 1. Sorry, that should be minus 3. And on to the last question. We're given two roots, x equals minus 2 and x is equal to 3 over 2. And we have to work backwards in order to find the equation. So if x minus 2 is a root, that means x plus 2 is a factor. And if we have x is equal to 3 over 2, that means 2x minus 3 is a factor. Now we just have to multiply these to get our equation. So x plus 2 by 2x minus 3. We get 2x squared minus 3x plus 4x minus 6 equals 0. And when we simplify, we get 2x squared plus x minus 6. And that's it.